Okay, this is the second video on the biological macromolecules, membrane molecules that are really large, that have an impact on our lives and lives of all living organisms. So the first part I'm going to talk about is lipids. Lipids are the fats, oils, waxes that we consume and use every day. Our cells use lipids quite a bit for water movement. They help the water to go into and out of the cell. Lipids and fats are good for energy storage, okay, in bodies. Okay, so think like animals. The more fat they have, the more energy they have stored. And then hormones and steroids also fall into this category as well. So lipid structure, there's a couple things here. First of all, lipid structure in the cell. This is a cell here in the green, the double lines, and you can see these little black things here that I've blown up and drawn a larger picture of. These little black things are called phospholipids. They have a head and a tail. And there's actually two of them. It's called a bilayer. Bi meaning two, layer meaning there's a line of them basically that line our cells. So this is what the membrane is made out of. The middle part of it is the fatty part, the lipid part. It's called a phospholipid. The phosphate part is the head. The lipid part is the tail. That's the hydrophobic end. That's the part that controls the water. So think of it like a wax coating on a leaf. Leaves have this wax coating on it, and it allows them, if you've ever held a leaf and held water in it, it holds it and it doesn't leak through because that leaf has a waxy coating. Kind of the same thing here in our cells. The chemical structure for lipids looks like this. The polymer portion of it is called a triglyceride. That's the longer chain piece. Each monomer unit is called a fatty acid. And a fatty acid looks something like this, where you have carbon and a whole bunch of hydrogens that surround it. That's the general structure for a lipid, is just carbon and hydrogen that surround those. So that's kind of the basis for the structure here. Some examples of lipids. I already talked about the phospholipids in the cell membrane. Waxes, oils, fats, those are all lipids. They all fit under this category. There's two types of fats here. There's saturated fats and unsaturated. You've probably heard of these before. Saturated have this structure where there's carbon, single bonds to carbon, to carbon, to carbon, to carbon. Now if you look at it unsaturated, they have double bonds periodically throughout them. That just the saturated part just means that this could fit another hydrogen there, but instead it made a double bond. Now saturated fats are generally things like solids like butter, coconut oil. Liquids are the liquid oil examples for fats. Okay, so that's it for lipids. On to proteins. Proteins, their function is pretty much everything in our cells. Everything in our body is based around proteins. They really help with cell structure and support. They help with movement, help with cell communications to other cells, transporting material within the cell and out of the cell, and then breaking down foods in our digestive system. Protein structure looks like this. Complicated slide here, but hang with me. So chains of amino acids. So there's these AA, these little red blocks are all amino acids. Those are the monomer groups. If you take the whole piece as a whole, that's a protein. So proteins are chains of amino acids. They are connected by peptide bonds. Now if we take an amino acid and kind of break it down, there's some parts to the amino acid. First of all, there's this R group. That defines the type of amino acid. There is an NH2 or an amine group and a carboxylic acid group, C with a double bond to an O, C bond to an OH. So this part is always going to be the same for amino acids. The R group is the only group that changes. So these three pieces are going to be the same all the time. So this R group changes from amino acid to amino acid. We're not going to get into that in this class, but we have to understand that there's 20 different amino acids, and they're based off of that part only. Amino acids are connected by peptide bonds. When we create a protein, there's 4 levels of structure to it. The primary is the order of the amino acids. So there might be one type of amino acid here, a different one here, a different one here, a different one here. We call that the primary structure for amino acids. The secondary, tertiary, and quaternary are all different ways that the folding, so if you take a chain and you fold it up, you can fold it a ton of different ways. And the ways the chain folds determines the type of protein and what the protein's function can be. So that concludes this second video. Make sure you go on and take the quiz.